Hey guys, we're going to look at the lawsuit Mr. Beast has filed regarding Mr. Beast Burger. You know, if there's one thing Mr. Beast is good at, it's making incredibly popular videos right out of North Carolina near where I'm at. And another thing he's really good at is making money. But it looks like there's a third thing that he struggled with, and that is quality control with his partners over retail food delivery. And that's really the subject of this lawsuit, kind of. What we're going to do is look at the actual lawsuit, okay, and see what Mr. Beast is suing over, what he's really suing over, not what the media says, and what he actually wants. Is this refunds for people who were disappointed? It's not. It's something else, and that's fine. That's fair. But let's take a look at what we're talking about here. So on the screen here, you see the Mr. Beast Burger website. Look at it. It looks pretty good. I'm getting hungry just looking at it. Look at that hot chicken tender sandwich. And Jimmy's favorites include cookies and the combos and beast style fries and burger combos. And there is a actual Mr. Beast restaurant. But that's part of the issue here, is that there's not really that many Mr. Beast restaurants, right? Look, it says the world's first. This is part of a ghost kitchen thing. And that is where somebody who's super popular, like Mr. Beast, sets up this menu of stuff. And when you order it, it's fulfilled by local restaurants to you that aren't Mr. Beast restaurants. They're just restaurants that agree to sell this stuff to you. So the one around me was not a burger place. Okay, that's not the closest one, but some of them are. Highway 55. And, you know, what restaurant it is just depends on who agrees to sell this stuff to you. So that could be hard to quality control, right? I mean, you're not dealing with a franchise here. You're dealing with people whose primary business is selling other kinds of food or fulfilling their own primary mission. And they do this on the side, capitalizing on the fact that people are willing to pay for this. I feel like largely due to the fact that it's got Mr. Beast's name on it, because you can find cookies and drinks and things like that from the actual restaurants themselves without having his name superimposed on it. But he was smart enough to know that people would pay up for this. And the guy knows how to make money. So he engaged with a company to do it, and they are not getting along. And that's what we're going to go over. And in the course of that, we'll see our customers getting a raw deal. All right. So we looked at how delicious this is. Now, remember, a lawsuit is something that somebody files in a court, and it has to set out, hey, court, here's who's involved in the lawsuit. Here's why you have jurisdiction over what we're suing over and the parties involved. And here's the facts. And here's my legal theories of why I'm entitled to get something from you, which in a civil case is usually money. But there's a twist in this one we'll hit. Now, I'm going to show first, before we get into the actual lawsuit, a public relations announcement by the party who's on the defense side in this case. Let me switch over to that. Here it comes. And that is Virtual Dining Concepts. Let me make this bigger so you can see it better. That's who's fulfilling this Mr. Beast Burger stuff as they collaborate on this. It's not Mr. Beast individually answering the phone or one of his employees or something. It's local restaurants through this company that organizes this. And they call the lawsuit by Mr. Beast misguided and bullying. And he will face the consequences in court. All right. So apparently they don't agree with the things he said. Let's see. The complaint, his lawsuit, which we're about to look at, I want you to hear the defense side first so you know where they're coming from. Now, remember, his side has lawyers that write their side. He does too. And the attorneys are not there to make balanced statements on behalf of each other. They're trying to convince people that each side is right. So you need to take everything in this Mr. Beast Burger lawsuit with a great deal of salt and ketchup too, if you want. The complaint is riddled with false statements and inaccuracies. It's a thinly veiled attempt to distract from Mr. Beast's investments, breaches of the agreements between the parties, including his recent false disparaging statements regarding the burger brand. We'll take a look at that. It's to the detriment of approximately 10 million happy Mr. Beast Burger customers. That's right. They are saying, and I think both sides agree, they sold over 10 million of these burgers with his name on it. That's pretty awesome to have that idea. Hundreds of restaurants, thousands of employees who make Mr. Beast burger products daily. And they say this is all an attempt by him, Mr. Beast, to negotiate a new deal to serve his own monetary interests. When the defense refused to give in to this bullying and give more of the company to him, he filed this ill-advised and meritless lawsuit seeking to undermine the Mr. Beast Burger brand. and terminate his existing contractual obligations without cause. And they say, hey, Mr. Beast is saying his brand was tarnished, and but yet he continues to be more popular, and that the nasty things that he shows in his lawsuit about customers getting terrible food, that is a very small minority of Mr. Beast Burger customers. And at any rate, they take it very seriously, always striving to improve quality, customer satisfaction. But again, I don't know how you corral all these restaurants all around the country who do different things, have different managements, have no real franchise alignment with you because they're operating under another name. It's clever, but it obviously has a quality issue built into the whole concept. All right, so we know they don't agree, and they're saying that this is all really some kind of attempt by Mr. Beast to exploit them for more money. Let's see what he says, though. All right, I'm in the exhibits right now so that you can take a look at this, because one of the interesting things about this lawsuit is Mr. Beast himself is saying people who order Mr. Beast burgers are often getting catastrophically terrible food, and it's horrible for him as a brand because he's trying to do the right thing and be popular and deliver quality to people. So you'll see that. I want you to see some of these pictures first, so it puts a picture in your mind of what he's trying to say when we actually look through the lawsuit. This is one of his exhibits. So yes, that looks nasty. I think we can all agree on that. That's, is that beast style? I guess in the woods kind of beast, maybe, but not little kids at home that want to order this branded food coming from some other restaurant while they watch a Mr. Beast video on YouTube. That looks nasty to me, disgusting. So Mr. Beast is scored there. Chicken sandwich, this is going to make me throw up, okay? And probably whoever got it might get sick. More raw meat, ugh, blah. And then notice that sometimes you got the Mr. Beast packaging up there, which the restaurants are supposed to do. They're not supposed to put it in their own stuff. They put it in his stuff, but there have been other complaints that sometimes it just shows up in a bland styrofoam container. They don't even make the effort to use the packaging, which they do agree to do when they agree to sign on to sell you this burger if the order comes in marked up through however many middle people are willing to pay these days, because they're willing to pay a brand on top of another brand of a restaurant, and then of course get it delivered to them through some other app. So that's the world we live in, and this is nasty. That's disgusting. Disgusting. No QC. There's a lot of comments on here, so we won't pass through too many of those. It was burnt. Look at it. All 4 burgers look like this. No contact information to receive feedback. Again, for ghost kitchens, they'll say, do you want it delivered, or would you like to pick it up? And if you hit the pickup button, then you can get an address. You stick that address in Google and you see what restaurant is actually making the food that you're going to get. And this isn't a thing exclusive to Mr. Beast. There are a lot of ghost kitchens operating under different names to try to appeal to different groups so they can expand the amount of food they sell. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, provided that the underlying kitchen is dedicated to quality, which according to these people, it sometimes is not. Stomach issues, food allergy, folks, beware. Worst chicken sandwich ever. Rock hard. Wouldn't feed it to my dog, and I assume he likes his dog. Tough as shoe leather. Business won't last long. We're all sick. Food quality awful. And these are, from around the nation. Hair in my burger. That's nasty. Everything charred. I kind of like that, but I get it. Uncooked. I don't like that. Raw chicken sandwich. Whew, nasty. First time ordering, choose to get the Nashville chicken sandwich and got a whole raw chicken instead. Disgusting. Disgusting. And I mean, there's like 100 or 90 pages of this stuff in this lawsuit. So I'm thinking you got the picture now. Now let's get up to the actual lawsuit itself here. And you can see all the scrolling I'm doing. I spared you a lot of the disgusting things here. Now remember, the virtual dining concept says this is just a small minority of customers. And remember, it's virtual dining is not making this stuff. It's local restaurants that agree to do this stuff. All kinds of local restaurants. All right. So here's the lawsuit. United States District Court, Southern District of New York. That means this is a federal lawsuit. Now you can have a federal lawsuit if you have some violation of federal law, or you can have it under what's called diversity jurisdiction. And that's not the new kind of diversity. This is the old kind of diversity, which just means that the parties are from completely different states. And so you want to make sure that nobody's getting home cooked in the state court. So they have a provision that can let you into federal court as long as the suit's for more than $75,000, which they say this one is. And that's not a surprise. All right, so this is plaintiff Beast Investments LLC, and they are suing Celebrity Virtual Dining (CVD), Concepts Holdings, and Virtual Dining Concepts collectively. So lots of companies here. So first they'll say, well, hey, court, here's what this is about. And they start with this heartwarming story of Joe DiMaggio was asked why he hustled on every play of every game. He said, there's always a kid who may be seeing me for the first time. I owe him my best. And they say that encapsulates the philosophy of one of the most accomplished and prolific online content creators in the world, Mr. Beast. He brings it to everything he does. And that's the reason they say Mr. Beast is one of the most recognizable and valuable brands in the world. He's got 172 million YouTube subscribers, so that's pretty awesome. Number one overall for individual creators, and earnings estimated to be the highest of any social media creator. But it's his philanthropy, which really sets him apart from other social media superstars. What the hell has that got to do with a lawsuit over raw burgers? Nothing. But again, the lawyers try and write this to make their side look good, and you can't blame them for that. He's named by Time Magazine as one of the world's 100 most influential people in 2023. Are there 100 people who even read Time Magazine? I don't know the answer to that. But Mr. Beast has used his online platform to raise tens of millions of dollars for charitable causes. I am aware that he does a lot of that. So that's pretty cool. Again, he's a fellow North Carolina guy. So cutting him a break there. I think, he's trying to do good for everybody while he's doing good for himself and have some fun along the way. What's wrong with that? All right. So now we get into the crisis that created Mr. Beast Burger, the phoenix that rose from the ashes. In 2020, the global pandemic crippled huge swaths of the economy. So I want you to think about the cities in ashes and stuff like that. Small businesses feeling the brunt of the pandemic, tiny babies screaming out in hunger. The restaurant industry in particular faced a sudden threat to its very existence, right? The inability to service customers in brick and mortar locations. Of course, that was true as they were largely shut down, including in this state. At the same time, Mr. Beast was planning to launch a new business that would be entirely aligned with its philanthropic mission in that it could help thousands of restaurants bring in revenue during a pandemic they would not otherwise have been able to do. So here's the tie-in to the charity. He's got this new business idea, and somehow that's connected to charity, I guess because it's going to save all these restaurants, which that's fine. Again, I have no issue with that. If he helps them figure out a way to get food to people, stay in business, that is a good thing. So in 2020, he contracts with Virtual Dining Concepts to launch and run a virtual dining brand called Mr. Beast Burger. The goal is simple, relying on the strength of Mr. Beast brand. And again, that is all this is, right? The business would create a virtual restaurant with a selection of Mr. Beast branded food items. And it would partner with existing restaurants who would prepare those items and share in a significant portion of the revenue from their sales. Well, if you're the one making the food and putting it in the box and doing all that, yes, in fact, you should get a significant portion of the revenue, right? You would hope it wouldn't all go to marketing and branding. But that's also part of the problem of this, existing restaurants and who's really able to QC those in a fast-growing virtual environment and see that they're dedicated to delivering quality product, or you just wait for feedback from customers. Anyway, the business model would not compete with its partner restaurants, but would instead generate significant additional revenue for them that didn't require brick and mortar service. And you could order it through Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. So again, there's nothing the American citizen likes more now than more middlemen to do more things for them. So you got these apps on top of a brand item actually finally getting back to a restaurant who's struggling to stay in business, who makes something, and they get a significant portion of the proceeds. But, they don't have to do it if they don't find this of value. So I completely agree with that. And I also find it's fair to say that it doesn't compete with them, because if you don't want a special Mr. Beast burger, then you can just order whatever food you want. So it's not like you can't order from the restaurant what they normally sell, but you want that box with Mr. Beast's name on it, and you're willing to pay for it, pay other people to bring it to you, and pay other people to entice you to do it through marketing. So yeah. And eventually you'll pay some money toward the actual production of the food itself, which is at least a part of the dining experience, right? The food, maybe not an important part as long as it's not raw. I guess we'll see. Because quality and fan customer satisfaction are paramount above all else for Mr. Beast, he expected that his fans would be the recipients of excellent customer service and a superior branded food product. Well, fair, but you can't just expect that because you're dealing with hundreds, maybe thousands of restaurants around the country. How do you know what they're going to do? Now, he says virtual dining concepts was more focused on rapidly expanding the business as a way to pitch the virtual restaurant model to other celebrities for its own benefit, not focused on controlling the quality of the Mr. Beast customer experience and products. Well, I'm sure they did want to expand it at a rapid rate. Every business would like to do that. And if you believe these reviews that are in this lawsuit, somebody wasn't focused on quality, including the restaurants obviously delivering the food. That's on a primary basis, that should be their job. They're all, licensed by a health department or whatever. They should be delivering quality food, not raw chicken. But how do you check that if you're VDC or Mr. Beast? I don't know, but I guess maybe they weren't doing it to the amount that they needed to. Now, they say, however, Mr. Beast lodged numerous objections, and his complaints about quality control fell on deaf ears. As a result, Mr. Beast Burger has been regarded as a misleading, poor reflection of the Mr. Beast brand that provides low-quality products to customers that are delivered late in unbranded packaging, fail to include the ordered items, and in some instances, simply inedible. So this is Mr. Beast talking about his own Mr. Beast Burger at this point. Not good. Customers have referred to the burgers as being disgusting, revolting, inedible. They claimed it's sad that Mr. Beast would put his name on this. Mr. Beast is being canceled over burgers. Never had something so nasty. Orlando's worst burger. Big name, poor food. Very upsetting for the high price. Again, you love the middleman and the convenience. This is what it is. Likely the worst burger I've ever had. The problem is perhaps best exemplified, his attorneys say, in the following Reddit post. You've got a big problem if any point you're trying to make is best exemplified by a Reddit post. This is a problem for all parties involved. Let's take a look at it. Finally ordered our first Mr. Beast burger and then realized after the first bite it was mostly just raw meat. That is nasty and that is disgusting. And here is a Reddit post that exemplifies a problem under our, well, that sucks. All right. One New York reviewer, echoing the sentiments of thousands, stated that Mr. Beast Burger was the worst burger I've ever eaten in my entire life. I don't know if this person was 5 or 50. It was like eating spoonfuls of garlic powder. Fries soggy and ice cold. Don't waste your money. More than half of the Mr. Beast virtual restaurants have less than 2 out of 5 stars, well below the median score of 4 stars across the platform. And that could be an issue with who are you letting sell this stuff? Because if it's nasty restaurants, then you're going to be delivering nasty products to people. And how do the people know? They're looking at this Mr. Beast app off of whatever app they're looking at on top of it, Grubhub or whatever, and they're seeing these pictures of beautiful food. They're not looking at the nasty restaurant that's going to prepare it. Sometimes a nice restaurant, but it could be nasty. You're not bothering to check. You want Mr. Beast and his partners to check for you, and I guess it didn't happen. One father felt he let his children down, received terrible quality food in unbranded packaging, traced back to a 7-Eleven. Again, you don't have to be a private investigator to figure out where this food's coming from if you're getting it delivered to you or picking it up. That's not hard to do, and maybe you should do it. Even if you want this exclusive packaging, the cool box and stuff, it might be good to know what restaurant it's coming from to see if they do they make burgers on a regular basis, or is it a 7-Eleven? I mean, come on, you might get one of those hot dogs that's been rolled over those rollers for like 300 years, brought over by Columbus. So that could happen. And, if you don't want to do any due diligence, then you'll end up on Reddit. There you go. Customers do not expect their Mr. Beast burger to come in a 7-Eleven bag. It's not what anybody expects. It's certainly not what I expect because I don't expect to order one. But if you did order one, I can see why you'd have higher expectations. Equally disturbing, many customers believe that Mr. Beast is personally responsible for this mess, as evidenced by statements such as, "How could you do this to me, Jimmy?" So these are the Santa Claus believing people that think that Mr. Beast goes down their chimney at night to deliver hamburgers, and he's able to do it all across the nation simultaneously as he personally examines the quality of each burger that gets delivered. I mean, you do know this is just marketing to get you to pay more money, right? Nothing against Mr. Beast. He's got a brand. People enjoy it. That's fine. But he ain't doing it individually, my people. Attached to Exhibit B, that's some of what we looked at, is a compilation of just a handful of the thousands of negative reviews. And there are literally thousands of negative reviews, articles, and comments. It's Mr. Beast himself and not virtual dining concepts that's borne the brunt of the justified attacks and criticisms. Yeah. Nobody's saying, man, I can't wait to get a hold of a virtual dining concepts burger. I wonder what their box looks like. They want the Mr. Beast burger. That's the brand. Now, Mr. Beast says he made every effort to cause virtual dining concepts to fix these significant quality control problems as soon as he learned of them. So he's super diligent here, his attorneys say, and they refused or they were incapable. Now, as a result of this, they've caused him material, irreparable harm to his brand and his reputation, not only through their abject failure to ameliorate the significant quality control problems with the virtual business, but through other material breaches of the agreements with Mr. Beast. By way of example, they say that they repeatedly denied Mr. Beast his valuable approval rights by posting his name, image, and brand on social media and elsewhere without first obtaining his written approval and consent. I think he's saying they did that in other countries and things. Yeah. So they say that virtual VDC registered various trademarks throughout the world using Mr. Beast's name and brand with any right to do it and without his consent and knowledge, and listed themselves as sole owners of the trademarks. And here's a big fact right here, if it's a fact. To be clear, while this business has made millions of dollars, Mr. Beast has not received a dime. Unfortunately, due to all of this stuff and the failure to uphold their agreement, he has no choice but to seek a judicial declaration that he has the right to terminate Mr. Beast's burger business and to be paid for the damages that have been caused by the defendants. Consistent with his philosophy, if the Mr. Beast Burger virtual business cannot provide the highest level of service and products to its customers, then it should not continue. So he's saying it, let's shut this problem down. All right, I told you you had to be jurisdiction and venue for the court to see, and here it is. So they say you have jurisdiction over this. It's diversity because the parties are citizens of different states. Amount of controversy over 75,000. A venue is proper for the parties for this action because they have an agreement between Beast Investments and the defense that says all proceedings to resolve the disputes shall be initiated and conducted solely in the state or federal courts in New York, County of New York. And they submitted to the jurisdiction of the court, blah, blah. So that's fine. And the parties are Plaintiff Beast Investments is a limited liability company organized under the laws of North Carolina. Beast Investments is a wholly owned subsidiary of B. Burger 1456 and Company, a corporation organized under the laws of Delaware. And then non-party Jimmy Donaldson, who is Mr. Beast, is the majority owner of B. Burger 1456 and Company. So not surprisingly, he has a lot of accountants and lawyers and things setting up all these joint ventures and companies and LLCs and stuff as different people come in and out of them and seeking protection legally and tax advantages and so all of that. Anyway, it's Mr. Beast on the front end of this lawsuit. Defendant is a limited liability company organized under the laws of Florida. And it's owned by this other defendant who's also in Florida. And then another one in Florida. Or whatever. So there's all these deep levels of LLCs. And that's something that can make a lot of sense. So, if you're dealing with a big name here and a big name there, you set up in LLCs for the partnership you're doing with each one of those, whatever. All right. So let's get into what happened here, the factual allegations. So this is supposed to set the stage for, hey, court, here's what happened that will explain to you when you look at how we think we're entitled legally to money, what it is that happened that justifies that. So they go into this endorsement and services agreement to establish the Beast Burger business, and it would be run by Virtual Dining Concepts, who purported to be an expert in virtual dining business. And they create virtual dining brands that operate in a delivery-only model. And Beast Investments gave VDC the right to utilize his name, image, likeness, voice, picture, and photograph, signature, biographical data, endorsements, and statements, collectively called brand attributes, to advertise, market, and promote the Beast Burger. However, because Mr. Beast's brand is so awesome, it was an essential component of the deal that Mr. Beast retained strict control over the use of it. Therefore, pursuant to the endorsement agreement, which I don't think that's attached to this, I didn't see it anyway, Mr. Beast retained all of his own intellectual property rights and had strict non-waivable approval rights over the use of his image and brand connection with all facets of the business. And they quote it saying, the use of the brand attributes shall be subject to the prior reasonable approval of Beast Investments, which must be in writing. So if that's true, then if they went out and registered all these other things about him, that doesn't sound too good. Without that, he wouldn't have entered into the endorsement agreement. And that makes sense. You wouldn't want somebody to run away with your brand, right? All right. So now we've got the agreement and it gets going. Mr. Beast Burger publicly launched December 2020 to announce the launch. He created a pop-up restaurant and filmed a video titled I opened a restaurant that pays you to eat at it. And I'm sure gillions of people clicked on that like they do all of his videos. He personally manned the restaurant with his friends and gave away free Mr. Beast burgers all day. I guarantee those were not raw. And he also generously handed out stacks of cash and gave free AirPods and iPads to many customers, and even a brand new card. Somebody had an accident drive through. Over 1,000 cars lined up at the Mr. Beast burger pop-up before it even opened in the morning. At the end of the video, he announced the launch of the Mr. Beast burger virtual business. The video became viral and has over 156 million views. And he sold 1 million burgers in 3 months. Now, having said that, that probably is an issue for all parties because that level of success is going to generate interest. You got restaurants applying to sell these things. Of course, you can't make money if you don't have restaurants selling these things. So the more restaurants selling them, the more money everybody can make. That's a pretty huge launch. I mean, that is awesome. It definitely, to me, indicates the value of his brand. All right. Now, they say at the time this happened, that the defendant didn't have any other celebrity collaborations that could even come close to bringing in a level of revenue that was achievable through the Mr. Beast burger. Because apparently all the people who watched Mr. Beast videos really wanted to be able to eat food with his name on it while they're watching these videos. So VDC sought to use the Mr. Beast burger model and the success as a way to attract other celebrities who might wish to partner. And that makes sense. I don't know, that doesn't seem bad for them to do that. And they say, to that end, it was in their interest to capitalize on the initial success and expand as rapidly as possible, establishing partnerships with the restaurants in hundreds of new locations across the globe. Yes, and that can't be exclusively just so they can get other people to do this. They want to make money on this primary agreement. So again, that in and of itself isn't bad, in my opinion. And it was described in Forbes as the fastest growing restaurant brand in the country. This is real life, people. This is real life. In 2021, Mr. Beast Burger's first full year in operation, VDC opened 1,000 virtual locations. 2022, nearly doubled to 1,700. So now you got 1,700 restaurants making this stuff. Are they all good? As stated earlier, to be clear, VDC, he says, has made millions of dollars through this business, but Beast Investments has not been paid a dime. Now, made millions of dollars. Revenue is not profit. So I have no way to know what VDC made in terms of profit. If it did make a profit and how they were supposed to share it with Beast Investments, who knows? Revenue does not equal profit. So I don't know which of these numbers this is supposed to represent. This is true, even though Beast Investments is owed royalties and distributions of the endorsement. There should be a pretty clear formula in that agreement. And if he hasn't gotten a dime yet, that shouldn't be that hard to sort out whether that's right or wrong. Now, this rapid expansion was a useful selling point for VDC to get other celebrities, but it wasn't in the best interest of Mr. Beast Burger. Let's see. It soon became apparent that in focusing first and foremost on growth, VDC lost sight of the most important aspect of the business, controlling the quality of the customer experience and the food products that were offered. I mean, I don't think you can have somebody in every restaurant checking the food they're making. So on the front end, it's restaurant screening, I guess, that matters. And I don't know how they did that. Customers, food reviewers, and the press quickly began to call out in great numbers the significant problems with the Beast Burger, commenting the business concept and advertisement was misleading. The products were low quality, orders late, orders arrived in unbranded packaging, failed to include ordered items, website functioned improperly. Customers were denied legitimate requests for refunds. It sounds like Fire Festival. Because the Mr. Beast brand is central to VDC, it's him who has borne the consistent, ongoing, painful brunt of the criticisms and ridicule. He's received direct blame from disappointed customers. Well, you did put your name on it. So, and I understand why he'd be upset about it. This is precisely why, pursuant to the letter agreement, Beast Investments has the right to terminate the entirety of the Mr. Beast Burger business, including the virtual restaurant, if the Beast Burger materially and irreparably tarnishes Mr. Beast's reputation. So that must be some clause in this. Now, the defense is going to say, where's the tarnishment and irreparable harm? Because you're more popular now than before we launched this. Yeah, so they're going to have a fight about that. Upon learning of the significant criticisms of the burger and the devastating attacks on his own personal brand and reputation, Mr. Beast, personally and through his representatives, immediately raised concerns with VDC, including weekly or bi-weekly meetings, and he sought to correct their failure to exercise adequate quality control over the product and the business. But he says they didn't take steps to improve the quality of the product. But yeah, they continue to use his brand and image and likeness without prior consent in their relentless, irresponsible expansion across the globe, he says. And then Exhibit C, which we didn't look at, I think it has some pictures of Mr. Beast around the world selling burgers, which he says he didn't agree to. And so therefore, the harm to his brand continues to escalate. Expansion into the brick and mortar business in 2021, as the pandemic restrictions were being lifted. He believed that expansion into brick and mortar business, Mr. Beast, would allow for stricter oversight of customer experience and control, and provide unique destination-based experiences to Mr. Beast fans, allow for expanded menu of healthy and sustainable options. Oh my God. So they entered into a letter agreement, set forth the foundation of the expansion into brick and mortar, and addressed other global aspects of the Beast Burger business. The operative agreements relevant to the claims. The letter agreement is vague and ambiguous. So in abundance of caution, Mr. Beast shall not quote directly from that agreement. Okay. It is available for the court's consideration. That's a very interesting way to put an agreement into a lawsuit, I've got to say. But, you know, if you're all butthurt about how terrible it is and you still want to stay in business with these people and open brick and mortar location, I'm sure the defense will have something to say about that. The parties did open one brick and mortar location in New Jersey. However, because VDC was interested only in developing its own virtual branded restaurant business, it paid little attention to it. Yeah, I mean, they were wanting to do this stuff over the internet. How much attention do you expect them to pay on landscaping and cleaning up the parking lot and things like that, and hiring and firing cooks? So maybe not the best partner for that. As a result, the Beast virtual business accounts for approximately 90% of VDC's revenues. No wonder then that VDC dragged its feet on aggressively focusing on customer service and quality, and instead continued to selfishly over-prioritize immediate virtual growth and sales. Focusing on that, which I guess would have, maybe involved some refunds or cutting some, taking restaurants out of the agreement, it would have cut into their short-term profits and would have limited the ability to expand a virtual business. And that makes sense, right? In addition, even though Beast retained ownership and strict oversight, the defendants registered trademarks all over the place: Thailand, European Union, Canada, Mexico, Malaysia, all apparently desiring Mr. Beast burgers or something, whatever they sell over there. And they kept doing it and using his name. We'll skip over all the legal mumbo jumbo about that. And they say it's indisputable. We'll see. I think they will dispute it, that the defendant's failure to correct the serious problems has damaged the reputation and brand of Mr. Beast. I don't think the defendants will agree with that. However, I do see Mr. Beast's point that pictures of raw chicken with his name on it aren't good for his brand. Unfortunately, but how much did it hurt it, I guess, is the question. Unfortunately, because they failed to meaningfully reduce the serious issues in customer experience and product quality in business, and they failed to gain control, etc., Mr. Beast has no choice but to seek an order from the court finding that Beast Investments has the right to terminate its agreements with VDC and shut down the Mr. Beast burger business. Now, this gets to what the defendants were saying. He says he has a right to do it. Now, if he were to get a declaration of that, he could hold that over their head and say, I'm shutting it down, or I'm shutting it down if we don't fix this. Or as they say, I'm shutting it down if I don't change the ownership structure of the business. I don't know if any of, what's true in this or not, but it would be a powerful tool on his part to have a declaration by the court of that. But we'll have to see about that. In addition, defendants materially breached express and implied provisions of the agreements. Yeah, they did all the things we already talked about, nasty food, etc. So now we're into the legal theory of the lawsuit, which is mercifully near the end of it. And that's what's called cause of action or causes of action. You can have more than one, which is the legal theory under which you say you're entitled to relief. So a cause of action is certain elements, and you say, here are the facts that support these elements, and don't have to be in detail, and why I deserve what I deserve out of it. Usually it's money, but this first one is different because it's called a declaratory judgment. So he reincorporates all the factual allegations and other things and says that if federal court wants to, it can issue a declaratory judgment. Now, to do that, you have to have an actual controversy between the parties. You can't just think of a hypothetical and go to court over it. It has to be a real fight. And it does appear to be one here because the defense says this was a controversy between them where he's trying to leverage and be unfair and bullying and stuff. So the parties are having a fight. And he says that the issue is, does he have the right to terminate the endorsement agreement, letter agreement? Because if he does, he can. And if he doesn't, then he'd be in breach of the contract if he tries to do it. So He's saying he has the right to terminate the entirety of the Mr. Beast Burger business, including the virtual restaurant, if it's damaging his brand. And he says that because of all this, his brand has indeed been irreparably harmed. Defendants contest that his reputation and brand have been irreparably harmed. I thought they would, even though a little bit earlier it said it was indisputable. It is, in fact, being disputed. It's the merits of that dispute which are at issue. But here, because you have to have a fight, you have to say, we say we can, and the defendants say we can't. If both parties said he could, you couldn't get a declaratory judgment. Maybe you still aren't going to be able to do that. Plaintiff also contends that it has the right to terminate the agreements based on the multiple uncured breaches or whatever. Let's see. Defendants deny they have breached anything. So again, a fight is on. So he wants a judicial declaration that he has the right to terminate the endorsement agreement, letter agreement, to shut down the Mr. Beast Burger business. So if you love Mr. Beast Burgers, you got to be feeling some anxiety right now, right? That the whole thing could collapse. But it is always possible they will work a solution out. That is generally the result of civil actions. But sometimes they go to the mat, and we could be seeing the end of Mr. Beast Burger potentially. Or maybe he'd cancel it and open it up with somebody else, or maybe they'll work it out. We'll see. Or maybe VDC will sign on a new celebrity that instead of you just having a regular burger that for $8, now you can get one for $10 that comes in a box with a picture of somebody on it who you like, who doesn't make hamburgers for a living, and you feel happier and you can buy that if this were to disappear. Let's hope that works out. His second cause of action, not surprisingly, is breach of contract. So they're both parties to it. They got an implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing that exists many or most, maybe all jurisdictions. Defendants have materially breached the express terms of it as well as the implied covenant. They filed all these international trademark registrations. They created and disseminated advertising and marketing materials without advance written notice and approval. They failed to pay all amounts owed to Mr. Beast, and that's a significant issue. And they consistently served inedible food and provided incompetent service. Nasty. I don't think the word nasty appears other than customers, but it should, because this is nasty. All right, so let's see what he thinks he should get. He's saying that he performed all of his obligations by God, and anyway was excused or prevented from doing anything he should have done that he didn't do by their conduct. So nice. So here's what he says he gets. As a direct and proximate result of the material breaches, he's been damaged in an amount that has not yet been fully ascertained, but which he believes to be in excess of $10 million. When he does figure it all out, he's going to seek leave of court to amend the complaint accordingly. Yeah, I mean, you have to be careful with this because you have to show that the amount of controversy is over $75,000, but also, you know, it is what it is. Over $10 million, he says. We'll see what it comes down to. I know that number has made its way into media. And it's going to just get bigger, because the nastiness continues. So he seeks an award of monetary damages in an amount to be determined at trial. And he wants a preliminary and permanent injunction to prevent them from engaging in any further use of his name, etc., because it's causing him damage. So that is basically, if he were to win, they're shutting down the business because you couldn't put his name on it anymore. Now he wants an accounting as his third cause of action. The defendant agreed to manage finances, collect revenue, transmit profit share to Mr. Beast. Defendants have at all relevant times maintained exclusive control over the financial books and records, including the calculation of plaintiff's profit share, which apparently always shows up at zero because they say he has not yet received any profit share from the business since its inception 3 years ago. It doesn't have access to the relevant books and records of the business. So the balance due can only be ascertained by an accounting because the information necessary to determine the balance due is within the exclusive knowledge of defendants. And that also seems like it could just come under breach of contract where you can get discovery and find out how much money they brought in, how much money they spent, and what was left over, and whether they were, doing something with the money they shouldn't have been. I don't have any idea about that. And whether there was really any profit. Did they hide the profit, or was there no profit, and all that kind of stuff? So the prayer for relief is the final part of the lawsuit. So here's what he wants. In summary, declaratory judgment that he can terminate the Mr. Beast Burger business to the distress of millions of people. Maybe it wouldn't be the end of it. Who knows? Maybe there'd be some new business come out of it. I don't know. For an accounting of all revenues and expenses, and preliminary and permanent injunctive relief to prevent them from the defendants from using his name and likeness and other things. And awarding him his share of royalty payments and further damages an amount to be determined at trial. It is interesting that if it is just a profit agreement, because you'd think there would be a royalty of just a percentage, like I get 0.5% or 5% or 1% of the gross sales, in addition to any profit calculation, because profit calculation can be subject to a great deal of discretion. He wants cost awarded, attorney's fees awarded, interest, et cetera, and all that, and a request for jury trial. Now, we did go over earlier the fact that the defense has already issued out an answer to this in the public eye. That is not a legal response to the lawsuit. That isn't due yet, and that will come, and then they have to admit or deny the allegations in the complaint. You can see from what we read earlier, they're going to, in large part, deny it. So that's the Mr. Beast lawsuit. We've actually looked at the entire lawsuit, many of the complaints and stuff like that, and we'll see what comes out of it. I don't know that any of us want to live in a world where you cannot find a way to get a Mr. Beast burger. Now, whether it's these parties hashing out their differences and getting control over the quality, or some other way that this happens, but it is a nearly existential threat to society that this has come to this, and it makes me sad, and we'll have to keep an eye on this lawsuit and see how it turns out. Well, that's it. Thanks.